Okay, so that was Jubilees chapter 12. I hope you enjoyed that. I've been practicing this British accent for at least, I'm going to say 20 years. So I'm pretty much an expert at this accent. I've actually immersed myself in the British accent for many years, and it's just second nature to me, really. So I hope that this enhances your listening enjoyment of the narrative, the narrated Jubilees reading. So we're going to go forward with this style of reading it. I think it is more theatrical. It's more powerful, more dramatic moving forward. But let me know what you think. If you think I should just revert to my natural accent, the non-British accent. But in any case, however I move forward, I want to put all of my expression and emotion and heart into this. Okay, so chapter 12, we can see here that there is like a internal struggle with Abram and Terah, his father. Abram wakes up to the fact that, his people, including his father, his own father, is worshipping idols that are false gods, and he sees right through it, that essentially they're dumb, and it's pretty stupid to do this, worship the real God. And but the father was afraid, not afraid of so much societal pressure of, peer pressures. He was afraid for his life, that if he doesn't fall in line with the ways of his community, they're going to kill him. They're going to outright murder him, according to the book of Jubilees. So there's more information here that we're not privy to in Genesis. It doesn't tell us about Terah, about what Terah said, even the relationship between Abram and his father. There's nothing written there. It just says Terah begat Abram, and just take it as it is. We're going to start with Abram's story. But here it fills in the blanks, and that's why I really, really appreciate Jubilees. Not saying it's canon, not saying it isn't, but it offers us a possibility, a very, very strong possibility that this, in fact, is true. This is nonfiction. This is a true account of Abram and his father Terah. Possibly. I'm not saying it is. Again, not dogmatically saying it's true or it's false, but keeping an open mind that this might be canon, and there's a possibility. Only Messiah and Yah will let us know. The Father will let us know in the future when the time comes and we get to speak to them and see them face to face. So he also relayed these same sentiments to his two brothers, and they apparently were worshipping these idols as well. They were angry with him as a result. And so Abram just, he shut up. He said, okay, you know what? This is a battle. In my opinion, I think he said to himself, this is a battle I'm just not going to win. Or maybe not a battle I'm not going to win. Just, they're closed-minded. Why push something that, they've set their minds on this? They're not going to change. I did my part. I warned them. Then he took himself a wife, Sarai, who is literally... Okay, it says the daughter of his father. So actually, technically, it's not... She is the daughter of his father, but not the same mother. So, half-sister, essentially. Okay, so he could say, this is my sister, and as we know, he did. And that it was not a lie. It was sort of a half-truth. Okay, and then Haran as well took a wife, and his wife gave birth to Lot, and so on. And then we see this event here, this cataclysmic event, milestone event of Abraham's life. He had the cojones, he had the courage to burn down the house of the idols. Not just, these are the house of the idols of not just his father, but even the community in which he lived, the city where he lived, it seems. And they woke up in the night, and apparently they saw the flames or could smell the smoke, and they wanted to save these idols from the fire. Haran did as well to save them. That's Abram's brother. But Haran was burned in the fire, and he died because of Abram. So Abram might feel some guilt, possibly, or maybe not. I don't know. It doesn't tell us how Abram felt, but you would have to think, oh boy, what a tragedy. But maybe serves him right. I don't know how Abram thought about it. I can only imagine what he felt, where his brother died trying to save his false idols, his false gods. And then Terah went forth. He left Ur of the Chaldees. So this is Abram's father, to go into Lebanon, and he lived in Haran, the land of Haran, the brother of Abram. And Abram lived with his father in Haran for 2 weeks of years. So that's 14 years, I suppose. On the 6th week, it says here, Abram sat up, he observed the new moon of the 7th month. What is that? That's Rosh Hashanah, the Feast of Trumpets. Actually, not Rosh Hashanah. It's actually Yom Teruah, the day of shouting, the Feast of Trumpets. To observe the stars from the evening to the morning, to see what would be the character of the year. So it would be, how would the year go regarding the rain, and it seems he used the constellations to get an idea of how that would go, the year. So it's interesting why he would do that. It's not technically the new year. That is the civil year for a lot of Jews. And he sat alone. A word came to his heart. So these are signs for Moedim and so on, months and years. The moon, the sun, the stars. So why do I search them out? He's asking himself, God can do anything. Everything's in his hand. And he makes sort of a declaration, not a covenant, just a declaration to the real God that he's chosen him. I've chosen you and your dominion, your rule, because he's the creator. And he's saying, referring to those evil spirits in the earlier chapters, save me from those evil spirits. So he's very aware of the spiritual world, the spiritual realm, which personally I believe is more real than our physical realm. We just can't see it with our physical eyes, but they in fact exist. We can just feel it in everything going on around us today, in our pop culture and people's attitudes. How they put themselves first before everything else. That it's just the ruling zeitgeist of the day, especially in the West, is me. I'm gonna follow my heart. Screw my family. Screw the community. It's all about me. I'll follow my heart. I'll do what I want. And if I have extra time, then I'll help my family. I'll help my community. But big picture is not part of the. It's not part of the equation. Whereas in the Middle East and the Eastern culture, that's still very much a part of their what children aspire to do, is make their family name with honor. They put honor in their name, and they see themselves as part of something bigger than themselves. So that's kind of an aside. But he's asking the true Elohim that he would lead him, but not lead him to get lost, and to establish me and my descendants, and even his descendants would stay faithful to the true God. And he asks a question to God. We should do this in our prayers too, perhaps, that we should ask, should I do this? Should I make this decision in my life to go to this place? Should I go back to my old home? Or should I stay in this new place? And prosper my hand, and that I may not walk in the deceitfulness of my heart, because we can deceive ourselves if we're not leaning on God's guidance. And then God answered him and said, get you up from your country, and then I'm going to bring you to a land. So he's saying, okay, so this is your answer. Interesting. And this is very much in line with what is written in Genesis. Verse 23. God said, "Open his mouth and his ears that he may hear and speak with his mouth." So it seems like God's speaking to the angels, perhaps, to teach him Hebrew, the tongue of creation, which interestingly enough was a dead language for hundreds of years until only recently in the early 1900s, maybe late 1800s, but it was a dead language for so long. It was an extinct language, and it just came up out of nowhere, it seems, which is interesting because when you look at other languages such as Aramaic, which is still spoken, still alive in some Middle Eastern countries, I believe Iraq or Syria, I'm not sure which one, I think it's Syria, and even Samaritan language and other languages such as Gez, the Ethiopic language. But Hebrew really died out. It seemed like almost nobody, if anyone, spoke it, and it came back miraculously, it seems. And so we see this occur as well in Abraham's time, at least in this narrative, that the angels taught him not only the language, but we can see that Abraham was inspired to transcribe those books of his fathers. What are those books? Because there is no Torah at that time. It's interesting what books he would transcribe. I'm not sure what those are. It's a good question to ask. So I made known to him that he could not, that which he could not understand, so he studied that. And so he spoke to his father, so Abraham did, that he would leave Haran, go into the land of Canaan. And Terah gave his blessing. He said, okay, and may God bless you, essentially. May God be with you. And if you see a land pleasant to your eyes, arise, take me with you. So he's saying, if it's really good, if it's that good, and take me, bring me there. And take Lot with you too. Take your nephew with you as your own son. So it's interesting. He didn't just take Lot because he wanted to. It's actually his dad's advice, according to Jubilees here. And Nahor, your brother, he's going to be with me till you return in peace. So we're going to stay here till you come back and get me. And Nahor will go with you, it seems. So we'll go with him, with his father, Terah. But the only one who did not survive was that brother who died in the fire. I believe it's Haran. So that's all for this commentary. I'm so happy to be able to read this Jubilees. We have a lot more to go. But I'm doing this commentary just to kind of digest what I'm reading, because it's one thing to read a text with emotion, but sometimes I don't know if anyone else has this phenomena, but I'll read something, especially out loud, and not that nothing makes sense, but if I'm reading it in the moment, like for example, I'm just going to read 31, and Nahor thy brother leave with me. So I'm putting a lot of energy into reading it, not really using my brain to understand what I'm reading. I'm not using my brain to comprehend it. I'm using my brain power, my energy to read it. Like 100% is going to the reading, not so much the comprehension part. But if I read it with my eyes and then I read it with my mouth, then there's a little more comprehension. But the commentary, what I'm doing in this video, is really to digest what I've just read and to make sense of what I've just read. Because it's one thing to read it, to perform it, to narrate it in a way that is entertaining or more appealing, just, attention grabbing, or just, easier to listen to. Basically, it's like a movie, right? Like an old radio show where it's dramatized and it's just it's like you put yourself into the book. It's not just words on a text. It's like you're there. You're in the spirit. You're there with Abraham, what he's going through. You're there in his country. You're there in the events. You're reliving it as you're reading it. So that's why I'm doing these, and also because Jubilees is just, in my opinion, one of the best books ever written, besides what we have in the Holy Scriptures. So thank you very much for your time, and for watching this video. Look forward to the next The next video, Jubilees chapter 13. And that's all for this commentary. So thank you and Maranatha. Shalom, shalom.